When it comes to buying a resale property, there are 3 key things that we must always get right first before going into a purchase. If you are able to get this right, technically your property will be able to hold the value very well, and it will definitely be much easier to sell in the future. The first thing we are going to look at is to choose a popular project. How do you determine a popular project? It's by following these 4 steps. So this is what I've shared before in my previous Penrith video. Basically, to determine the popularity of a project, it has to follow the 4 main key points. Yes, location is important, schools is important, but without these 4 key things, you will still not be able to sell as easy in the future. I'm not going to go very deep into this because I have spend about 15 to 20 minutes to run through this in my Penrith video. I'll actually link my video at the top right hand corner so that you can refer back should you want to watch this in detail. In my previous videos, I've shared many times that we always want to look at a project that is sizable. That means a project that is around at least 400 units and above. This is when we will see that mega developments tend to perform better, tend to be able to protect their price better, because it's natural for owners to want to sell a little bit higher than the last transacted. In a mega development where there are 1,000 over units, with each owner wanting to sell higher than the last transaction, this allows the prices to beef up very quickly as compared to a small size development that probably does not see so much transactions and volume. Of course, with a big land size, you will also have better facilities, which most people buying for own stay will actually prefer and appreciate. The second point is also about the visibility of the project. When people are in the area, they actually know from far that, hey, this is your condo. And why is it so important? Because a popular development usually will stay popular for a very long time. Even 10 to 15 years later, buyers still recognize the name and they still want to live there. The third point is a developer that is reputable. The last point is good layout. These 4 points, as long as you find resale condos that ticks all these boxes, this actually matches the first part of determining a good resale condo. So let's move on to the next step, which is the size of unit.
Remember to like and subscribe to my mommy's channel. Thank you.
What does size of unit mean? Let's say you have a budget between $1.7 to $1.8 million. Technically, you will have 2 clear choices in the resale market. The first is you would likely look at a 2-bed, 2-bath in the city area, or alternatively, the heartland areas is not as accessible, but with the same amount of budget, you'll be able to buy into a 3-bedroom or a 3-bedroom premium in the ECs. My advice for you is to buy as big as possible within your budget. Recently, I have been serving a client. Actually, this client of mine loves location so much. He has been staying in the Aljunied area because he really prefers a bigger space. He doesn't have choice. His budget cannot buy into a city fringe area 3-bedroom, so he have no choice but to go further out into Hougang area to buy into a 3-bedroom there. Why I actually share this case study is because today's new launches, all the homes are getting smaller and smaller. In today's context, families, they cannot settle for a smaller space. And this is when they do not mind to move further just to be able to let their family enjoy more space. So when you own a bigger, a more livable layout, especially in a known development, it is always easier for you to sell in the future, and very high chance you will be the first one to sell. The last step is to watch out for the nearby government land sales. They are lands that the government sells to build new launch condos. And new launch condos tend to be much more expensive than resale condos nearby. So in this sense, the GLS always helps to set the benchmark for future prices in that area. Take this example, which is Prive. Prive is located in Punggol. A few years ago, in 2022, you can buy a unit at Prive in Punggol at $1,200 per square foot. At the same time, in the OCR area, there was a new development in the Lentor area which was launching at around $2,000 per square foot. Even though Condo and Lentor is very different in terms of location, both of these are located in the OCR area with MRT nearby. So let me ask you a question. If you would have purchased this Lentor condo at $2,000 per square foot, how much will you want to sell in 3 to 4 years' time? I would guess it's about $2,400 per square foot to $2,500 per square foot. The thing is, nobody really knows whether it is 100% achievable to be able to sell at this price. But yet, at the same period of time in 2022, if let's say I would have purchased Prive at $1,200 per square foot, with the new launches at $2,000 per square foot, can I sell at $1,600 per square foot? Is it going to be more achievable than thinking about $2,400 to $2,500 per square foot? Which is why, fast forward today, Prive has appreciated to $1,500 per square foot already, and the price gap between Prive and the Lentor launches has narrowed from 64% in 2022 to 37% in today's context. So when we look at these two cases, who do you think actually has a little bit more risk, and who do you think is more protected? Is it the resale or is it the new launch condos? I'm going to show you another case study and using Lentor again as example to share with you in which case do you want to weigh out your risk in terms of buying into a resale condo. Taking you all the way to the Ang Mo Kio Lentor area side, and over here I have two different condos that I'm going to share with you. In 2022, there was also this condo named Panorama. During that time, nearby Amor Residences was also launched. So Amor Residences is the new launch, whereas Panorama is the resale condo in the area. Back then, for Panorama, the prices were hovering between $1,700 to $1,800 per square foot. When Amor Residence was launched, the average per square foot was about $2,100 to $2,200 per square foot. Essentially, between the resale to the new launch condo, the price gap was as wide as 20%. So this difference is about $300 per square foot. To give you some context, right? If we are looking at a 1,000 square feet unit based on a $300 per square foot, this would easily mean that the price gap is about $300,000. So if any buyer were to compare between the resale and new launch option, I believe that there is still a group of people that will still choose the resale condo because they do not have to stretch themselves an additional $300,000 to get a 3-bedroom in that area. Which is why you can see that Panorama, since Amor Residence was launched, the transaction volume actually increased. And this drives the demand for the Panorama. So in this case, if you were my buyer, I would probably advise you to go for the resale condo as a fair option. But here's another instance whereby I would not advise you to go for a resale condo. Shortly after, in 2023, actually the Lentor area condos started coming up, and the prices were hovering between $2,000 to $2,100 per square foot. As Panorama continued to do well, the gap started narrowing to the point whereby from 20% it narrowed to 7%. When there is this kind of price trend, actually, which is a safer one to go for now? It's actually the new launch, because the gap has narrowed to 7%. So when prices get so close, and Panorama being a much older condo, probably like a 10 years old condo, the new launch is actually safer than the resale option. So I hope from this case study, you can also see when is the time that resale condo actually gets riskier. Through these two case studies, I hope that you can see that when you're buying a resale condo, you really have to buy one that is popular, that is spacious and supported by nearby or future government land sale. And in this way, even if you are buying as a second owner or third owner, your purchase can be protected along the way with the help of the future GLS. So I've run through the 3 steps so far, like buying a popular development, a big layout, or near GLS that's going to sell at a super high price. We still need to be very, very careful, Because recently there is also one thing called the GFA harmonization, and it essentially means that it is a new risk for resale buyers in today's context. So even though we are relying on the future GLS to push up our prices, we must also never buy near a GLS that can launch under the new harmonization policy. See, now it gets a bit confusing. It's like, Vivian, you ask me buy, then after that you say cannot buy. Why? Because, right, there is this extra layer of homework which you have to do as a resale buyer today. So I use this case study to show you, because this policy actually makes the future size look smaller on paper, but in a lot of cases, because their size is smaller, their quantum will look very, very attractive. And the usable space that you can step on is also not very different. Meaning which in the future, the resale buyers or even yourself probably will not see the huge difference. Because GFA harmonization is mostly talking about unnecessary spaces such as the extra large balcony spaces and aircon ledges. Let's have a look at these two projects. Both development is just side by side next to each other. Riviere is a resale condo and Zion Grand is a new launch, just launched a few weeks ago. This is a 3-bedroom comparison. Zion Grand's 3-bedroom is 1076 square feet with a harmonized layout, whereas Riviere's 3-bedroom is 1216 square feet with non-harmonization layout. So just by looking at this, it's easy for us to say that Riviere has a much bigger layout and is more valuable. But if we break down the differences, actually it is not. So first thing we look at is the living room. Zion Grand is 35 square meters, whereas Riviere is 38 square meters. The difference is about 3 square meters, which works out to be about 30 square feet difference. So maybe I write it down here for you. 3 square meters. The next one we are looking at is the kitchen and yard. There is a difference of 3 square meters. Now next we are going to look at is the balcony. So Zion Grand has 2 square meters bigger in terms of balcony space. Then master bedroom and bath is exactly the same size. Bedroom 2 and 3, one is about 3 square meters smaller, the other is 1 square meter smaller. The common baths owner is almost identical and home shelter is also very, very similar in size. So when I put the specs side by side, it is very clear that Riviere still has some spaces that is bigger. But can I ask you this question? Will you really pay $600,000 more just because you want your living room, your kitchen and yard to be 3 square meters bigger and your room sizes difference is about 1 to 3 square meters difference? Can I also ask you, 10 years later, when both of these developments are in the resale market together, will the future buyers really say, I must pay $600,000 more because this living room is just slightly bigger and this is what I am really looking for? Will there be? Highly unlikely. That is exactly why I say under this new harmonization policy, the built-in size might seem very small, but the quantum can look so attractive that it changes how resale buyers compare, especially in this context where the future buyers can buy something that is newer, the future buyers can buy something at a much cheaper price, but yet enjoy almost the same facilities, the same layout and same home. So if let's say you are buying a resale condo that ticks the 3 boxes in my checklist, you will also need to be very, very careful and don't fall into the trap and buy something high priced today that in the future the launches that are just nearby can launch much cheaper than us. So in this sense, how do you actually counter this problem is by doing your homework just to see whether your layout can be more competitive even as compared to the future new launch. Now, if you find this complicated, you are not so sure of what to do, you can reach me for professional advice as well. With that, I end off today's video. Join me on my Telegram channel because this is where I share opinions about all the news in the property market. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.